So, on today's Card Academy lesson, we're going to talk about a very interesting principle in the automatic placement. This is a principle that was done by Alex Elmsley and worked on by other magicians throughout the years, but it was first seen by Alex Elmsley. It's a fun little thing that allows you to do essentially a self working trick. Now, this could work through the internet, you could do this through Skype, you could do this through Zoom. However, it is you want to do it, you could do it in person, and it's going to work regardless. So, we're going to go over not only the original, but also just a couple different touches and tips. So the trick is going to have a lot of different variations and a lot of different ways of doing it. We're just going to go over a couple in this particular video, but the spectator shuffles the deck and mixes it as best they can. The cards are thoroughly shuffled and mixed to their heart's content, and you take out just a couple cards. It doesn't really matter what the cards are, as long as it's just a couple cards that we could play with. So the spectator is then told to shuffle these cards until they are satisfied. So the spectator is shuffling this little packet of cards. Now at this point, you're going to look away because you're going to tell the spectator that you want them to start at a random number. So in this case, you want them to remove some cards and put them back on the deck. 2, 3, or 4, no more, no less. Just take out either 2, 3, or 4 cards, put it on the deck. So we have a position that I can't know where we're starting, so there's no way that this could be anything of my control. So in this case, the spectator takes out a couple cards, however many they want, and those cards get placed on the deck. Now at this point, the spectator is told to shuffle the deck some more and to make notes of the bottom card. So in this case, they can mix the cards up, even dropping cards if they want. Ultimately, they take note of the bottom card being the Jack of Diamonds. So here we're actually going to play with a lucky number. Let's say they say their lucky number is 5. So you tell them to take one card from the top of the deck and put it to the bottom for their lucky number. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, of course, you as a magician, you also have a lucky number. In this case, your lucky number is 3. So you tell the spectator to move those many cards from the top to the bottom. The spectator is then instructed to go through a little bit of a binary dealing procedure. So we tell the spectator to deal one card on the table, then take the top card and put it on the bottom. We then tell them to repeat the procedure here until they're left with one single card. Now again, the cards could be mixed in this procedure, so there's no way that I know or they know where their card is, but ultimately we ask them what their card is. They're going to say the Jack of Diamonds, and of course we come to a successful conclusion. So that is the automatic placement and one particular handling of doing so. So what we're going to do here is that we are going to take out 10 cards from the deck, and the spectators could take out any 10 cards they want. It really doesn't matter what the cards are. If you want, you could skip this particular procedure of having the cards removed. You could just do this by starting off with 8 cards. So it's a wonderful little principle, and if you want, again, you don't need to have that initial risky factor of them removing cards, because there is a possibility that they could ruin your trick. So in this case, if we start with 10, we give them the explicit instruction to remove either 2, 3, or 4 cards. We don't want them to remove more because that might actually mess up the trick. I believe the trick wouldn't work with 3 cards. So you need for them to have this done with either 2, 3, or 4 cards if you start with 10. However, if you start the trick by removing 8 cards and skip this step, the trick is going to work each and every single time regardless, because we're not including that particular step, and this is the exact amount of cards that we need for this procedure to work. But ultimately, if you start with 10, then you could give them the option to remove 2, 3, or 4 cards, and this trick is still going to work. So in this case, let's say that we do in fact remove 10 cards from the deck, and we tell the spectator we're going to look away, and we're going to remove 2, 3, or you want them to remove 2, 3, or 4 cards, it doesn't matter, and put it on top of the deck so that there's no way that I could know where we're starting, because I might have counted the cards, whatever, but in this case, there's no way that any of us could know. So the spectator takes out a couple cards in this particular situation, and they're told to mix the cards. So now, whatever card comes to the bottom is going to be the card that we're going to work with. In this case, it's going to be the 3 of clubs. And now the magic number is going to be 8. So the magic number for this particular procedure is going to be the number 8, because we're going to need to displace 8 cards from the top of the deck to the bottom in order for the actual card to be in the position needed for the down under deal towards the end of the trick. So if the spectator's name happens to spell with 8 letters, then you're more than welcome to tell them to take 1 card from the top and put it to the bottom, 1 for each letter of their name. If you want, and you could combine names. So for example, if your name and their name combine together with 8 letters, then you're more than welcome to do that as well. The procedure that I use in performance is the lucky number plot. So you could tell the spectator that, well, if they have a lucky number between 1 and 10, what is that lucky number? If they say anything between 1 and 8, you're perfect. If they say 10, you say, no, 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 between 1 and 10. If they happen to say 9, then in that case, we're going to have to take one card from the bottom back to the top. So we're going to have to take one card from the bottom back to the top. And you could say that that's going to be just for luck in this particular case. Or you could displace the card when demonstrating the down under deal. So you're going to be able to do that. However, it's recommended that you stick between 1 and 8. So you tell the spectator to name whatever their lucky number is. And let's say their lucky number happens to be 5. Now, of course, we know that 5 and 3 is going to give us 8. So that means that our lucky number is going to have to be 3. If their lucky number was 4, then we say that our lucky number is 4 as well. So we have to add up to 8 so that the spectator displaces 8 cards from the top of the deck to the bottom. So that's how the procedure is going to work. So in this case, let's keep that card face up. In this case, I'm going to put the 3 of clubs face down in the deck just so we could track it throughout the actual procedure here. So let's say, just for the sake of completion here, 8. So we're going to take one card from the top of the deck and do it 8 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, it's going to be interesting is that that card is going to end up either second from the bottom or on the bottom. That's going to be the procedure here, regardless of what the number is that the spectator says, as long as it's 8. And the interesting principle here is that regardless of the cards that we removed, it's either going to end up second from the bottom or on the bottom, which is quite interesting because that's going to allow us to do a down-under deal where the spectator is going to find their card each and every single time, being the last one. So let's say the spectator would have said, let's say the spectator, for example, would have taken out 3 cards in the beginning. So now instead of having 8, we have 7 cards. So now we're going to displace 8. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Once again, the card is second from the bottom, and it's still going to work with the down under deal, as you're going to see here in a moment. That card is still going to end up being the last card in their hand. So regardless, as long as they remove in the initial phase, as long as they remove 2, 3, or 4 cards from that 10 packet where you started off, it's going to work each and every single time. However, if you want to start and not have that particular procedure, just make sure that you have 8 cards, and that's what you start with. So in this case, one more time, the card is going to be the 7 of spades. We're going to leave this card face up for the sake of explanation. The spectator happens to say their lucky number is 3. So you have them remove or take that many cards from the top and put it to the bottom. That's 1, 2, 3. And now your number happens to be 5. That's your lucky number. So you tell them to put 5 cards from the top to the bottom. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Their card ends up on the bottom. And now we're going to tell them to do a down-under deal. Now you could paint this however it is that you want. You could have this procedure be explained as an Australian deal, as many people do with the down, under, however it is you want to do it. But we're going to have to go through this procedure to get that card in the spectator's hand. Now, remember, the card could either be on the bottom or on the second from the bottom. So keep that in mind depending on the number of cards in the packet. So there's a number of ways that you could actually reveal the card if you are more inclined to do a little bit more work in terms of pumping and peeking. But that's not going to be for this particular video. That is for a different one. So here, we're just going to do the down under deal. We're going to tell the spectator, take one card from the top and put it on the table. Take one card from the top of the deck now and put it underneath the deck. So down on the table and then under the packet. Down on the table and then under the packet, and then we're going to have the spectator repeat this procedure. If you want, you could have them do loves me not, loves me not. But ultimately, they're going to be left with one card here in their hand, and it's going to be their card, the card that they merely thought of in the beginning, the 7 of spades, or whatever card was the initial card on the bottom. So that is a very impossible little bit of a placement here. And what I love about this is the idea that we're really upping the impossibility. So there's no way that we can know the position of any card. Again, they could have removed as many cards they wanted ostensibly, and we still come to a successful conclusion with absolutely no work on our end, just based on this little bit of an automatic displacement by Alex Elmsley. So I love this little bit of a self-working trick, and as you can see, it's something that could work with the spectator in their own homes. So in that particular case, you could have the spectator just deal cards onto the table, and you say, "I'll tell you what, stop dealing right there when they get to 8 cards." So they have 8 cards in their hand. Technically, this could work with any card up to 8. So if they start dealing and you tell them to stop, then more likely than not they're gonna be able to do this procedure as long as it's 8, 7, or 6 cards, I believe. It might be a little bit wishy-washy with 5. I'm not exactly sure about that one, but as long as you keep within 8, 7, or 6 cards, it's going to work tremendously well. It's going to work perfectly, as a matter of fact. So it's a very interesting thing if you want to do it over the internet on Skype or on Zoom or whatever means we have to deal with now because of the coronavirus. But it's a cute little thing, and it's definitely a principle that you could apply many different coats of paint on. If you want to do this as a loves me not, if you want to do this with the spectator's name, you're more than welcome to do that. But it does open up to creativity, because how you actually get those 8 cards to the bottom of the deck is going to be entirely up to you. If you want, and you want to have some balls in this, you could even do it as a psychological procedure here, where we do a psychological force. So knowing that there needs to be 8 cards, you could even have the spectator take cards from the top to the bottom and then do the classic psychological force, where you say you could stop at any time, by the way, once they get to about 4 cards. So then 3 beats later, we actually get to the actual position that we need to be in, and you could say, as a matter of fact, one more for luck, and we're left in the exact procedure where the spectator needs to be, which is 8 cards being displaced from the top to the bottom. So it's a wonderful principle, and the mathematics elude me. The mathematics elude me as usual when it comes to these self-working tricks, but it really doesn't require a lot of work or a lot of memorization on your end for anything, and we come to a fun little conclusion. So that is the automatic placement by Alex Elmsley. I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. Thank you guys for being members of the Pigcake Magic Academy, and I hope to see you on the next one.